So one question we sort of asked ourselves was how would we ensure that it wasn't a short change, that this wasn't a quick idea, something that could be sustained. And one way that we considered that would be through professional learning teams. Now, we'd had at the school whole school professional development. We've definitely had working in our teams in terms of sort of departments. You know, the junior department had a meeting, but we actually wanted a shift where these discussions would be more about teaching and learning. Now, so there actually is, to follow this, a little video which I'm sure will go up on the website, but it's in quick time, so it's not going to show, but I'll roughly tell you what you would have seen. So we had wanted to encourage a culture of challenge after hearing quite a lot of the speakers through the AIZ. We had realised that we were still in the culture of mostly giving positive feedback. We did have collegiate visits, and there may be one or two curly questions that were asked, but mostly it was just, you know, I really liked this about your lesson, that was great, the kids were really involved there. And I personally believe that's probably the way you have to start, because then it makes teachers more comfortable about having people in their room. But we felt like we've had that for a couple of years and now we're ready to move on a little bit more. And this was modelled through our leading teacher as well, because she's often asked us those curly questions, gives us that time to think as well. And so I guess through in a big staff, you can't really do that, but in these smaller professional learning teams in our department groups, this was an opportunity for us to say, or maybe ask those questions like, why did you do that? You know, how did you feel that went? Rather than that was really great, instead of just immediately reinforcing something, but letting the person think about why they've done it and whether there were any other options. So this is where we're trying to move. Also, because we're working with teachers in smaller groups, there's definitely more of an idea that it's change from within the group. It's not imposed on us. So we haven't come in and said, you have to do this, this and this. They've seen a lesson that we've done, we've discussed it, they've tried a lesson, we've seen them teach, and then it can be more things like in that group we can talk about other ways we might do this. And it's the big picture stuff, but we're also trying to encourage more responsibility across the board for students rather than, these are my kids, these are the ones I need to work on. What can what can I do? What can you do with your students? If that's not working, what else can we do? Rather than feeling isolated in your classroom and only concentrating on those children.
That we know that vocab is important to focus on, especially with young children. Well, that's what we already sort of do across the board. Clarifying words as they came up in the text. We know to think about words that come up in the text that might be tricky. Okay. From what we still want to know, we've got this one came up quite a bit. Did you put this one up, Effie? Yeah.
What happens when kids come up with different words?
Yeah, because it came up again here. Are we able to choose vocab words based on the words children want to know or want to learn more about? And basically, you do that. Although we come up with words that could be explicit or, using their meaning-making modal strategies that they could use to decipher the words, we still, sometimes not get it wrong, but the kids might know those in the end. So they might come up with other words in the text. So you've got to give them that chance, and that's fine for you to go into words that they want to choose.
So it's flexible enough to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Also, remembering to follow up the new vocab.
Yeah.
So like we had previously discussed, you don't just leave it to that one session. Sometimes it carries on to the next, and it's good to revisit those vocab words, and that's a great thing that is happening there.
Leah had used a KWL with her group, and they were talking about all the things like their preconceived ideas about vocabulary before they'd gone in, what they'd learnt from watching her, and then anything that they were going to continue with the future. And I thought that was actually a really good tool for promoting discussion. Whereas with Chris and I, we didn't plan these particular meetings down to the, what we were going to say, but we had very similar meetings which were much more casual in terms of what have you done, what has that got you thinking about, and so much came out of from the teachers that way as well. So it was very interesting that although we're all taking these professional learning teams, they're sort of being done in different ways and getting like a slightly different result. Really interesting, and I think that that's what we're learning from each other as well.